Hello, all our patrons. This is your bonus episode. We're so happy that you have become patrons of All Things Montessori. We are just so grateful for that. And today we thought we would talk a little bit about how to talk to elementary children. Sounds simple. However, it's not always easy as it seems, right?
Well, I mean, I hear people in the grocery store or, back, let me rephrase that.
Yeah,
Back when people interacted with each other. But I mean, you've heard adults, really treat children with like disdain, or I've heard adults treat them like they're babies, 10-year-olds, talk to them in a sing-song voice and really not treat them with respect. And this can be hard sometimes when you're new at working with children, and it can be hard sometimes even in a school setting, that not all the adults really understand how to speak with children. So we thought that would be something fun to sort of talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is respect. Because I think a lot of times, just like you're saying, the talking down to and literally standing over a child and talking down, I think that has such an effect that a lot of the world doesn't understand. Just the simple act of getting down to their level, looking them in the eye, or maybe not in the eye, but like being on where they are makes such a difference,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true at every age,
I
would say. But yeah, especially at the elementary. And our, that respect is key, and we have to, like, our tone of voice should consistently transmit that respect. So it should be like similar to the tone we'd have with an adult that we respect. Like, I don't really talk differently to children. I mean, I pretty much talk the same way I'm talking to you, Rachel.
Right. Same. Yeah. No, it exactly, because the sing-songy or the trying too hard or any of those things, an elementary child's just going to see right through that, and then they're not going to listen or like you. Or, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're going to be like, I'm not dealing with whatever that is. Truly.
Yep.
It's just not going to work. It's not going to work. Have you had experiences with elementary children talking in a sing-song baby voice to you? Have you had that experience?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Same here. And that can be just a hurdle to get through, And I mean, what I do, I don't do it back, obviously. And I don't really bring attention to it either, unless it's really persistent or if they're doing it like as they're giving a presentation, which that usually doesn't happen. But I would just mirror and talk back to them like normally. What would you do in that situation?
Yeah, or have a straight up conversation. Like, the way that you're talking isn't normally how we speak in our culture if we're trying to be taken seriously. And so, or if we're trying to show respect, so I'll have a conversation. But yeah, it's important that we know, that we model then consistent, like, respectful communication in the way that we speak to them, so that they then learn that for their own speaking. I think the other thing when we're communicating with elementary children, we also need to really consider our body language. So if you approach a child, stand next to them so you're not at their level, and cross your arms and frown, it doesn't matter what comes out of your mouth or how approachable your tone is, because your body language is going to transmit displeasure or inaccessibility in the way that you're standing. So, really being conscious of making sure that our body language is open and accessible, so that children understand that in our communication with them.
Definitely. I had an experience with that my first year of teaching and it was just a fun learning lesson for me. I mean, I don't know if I use the word fun, but it was a learning lesson for me because along with body language, the children are going to mirror what you're doing. And I am just a really fast walker. It's just who I am. I'm fast, and I just have always been kind of like, I will quickly get from one place to another, but I'm also clumsy at the same time. So it's not a really good combination. And I'm really tall anyway. I could go on and on. I I had to really think about how I was walking in the classroom because I kept seeing it in the children. And I was like, why are they doing that? I kept giving them grace and courtesy on how to walk, and then I wasn't doing it. And that doesn't even have anything to do with talking. But I was like, what's going on? And then I kind of had an aha moment of, oh, it's me. And then that really helped me kind of slow down. And also when you're walking fast, if you're walking fast towards a child, that's super stressful for everybody. They're like, oh my God, like, did I do something? It's kind of frightening, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just a personal thing that I had to get through. But body language is huge. I think tone of voice is also a really big one too. Yeah, and showing excitement is important, but you have to keep that in check too, because it goes back to the whole not overly praising or favoritism or any of those sorts of things, like really keeping an even keel and celebrating to celebrate, with the kids when it's appropriate, but not overly, not too much. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we need to be authentic in our
Mhm.
emotions with the children. And so what I see with adults actually, and what my children, especially when they were elementary age, had just a complete radar for, was
Mhm.
adults who were not authentic in their interactions with children. So if
Oh yeah.
my own personal children, both, if they did not feel like they were getting a real, that the adult was not being real with them, that the adult was not respecting them, both my children had a really hard time treating that adult with respect,
Yeah.
which
No, it's true. Right.
I understand. And children can sense, they're quite intuitive. Most children are.
Mhm.
And so when you're holding back and you're not being your authentic self in the classroom, that impacts your relationship and every conversation you have with every child. They can tell. And it's a delicate balance because as adults, we can't completely um, be with the children as we would be with our peers, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we can't swear with them. We can't, there's certain sophisticated topics we're probably not going to share with the children. We can't be as
Sure.
relaxed as we are perhaps with a peer, but we should still allow our authentic selves to shine through. So we shouldn't feel that if we're silly and make jokes in the rest of our life, we shouldn't do that in the classroom. No, that's not true because then you're really not being yourself, and the children are going to sense that you're not revealing yourselves to them. And then the children aren't going to reveal themselves to you because it doesn't feel safe, right? So it's
Yes.
complicated. It's a delicate balance of holding ourselves in to be, an appropriate model for the children while still being authentic. So
Yeah.
we want in every conversation we have with children for them to feel that we are taking them seriously enough to share ourselves with them, that we
Mhm.
feel enough respect for them that we're going to talk to them as we would talk to an adult,
Mhm.
and that we're also comfortable enough to be silly with them sometimes and have fun with that. That so it requires us to be real and develop authentic relationships. And that happens by being ourselves. That happens by treating them with respect, by not speaking down to them,
Yeah.
um, by really approaching them as a peer, just a peer with less experience and less maturity. So we just have to, adjust accordingly for that, but not otherwise, right? Does that make sense? Like,
Totally. Totally, because I love the authenticity comment. it is. I have a lot of friends that are like, I don't know how you work with children. Like, I don't even know how to talk to kids. And I just kind of want to be like, just talk to them. Like it's like a some I've had experiences talking to some adults being like, is there like a secret way that you talk to children? And like, no, like you're just yourself, because when you start to try too hard, I mean, they see right through that. And the when they're not when you're not being authentic, it's scary to the children. They don't feel safe, right? And they're
Mhm.
not going to trust you or really give you their true self because you're not being real with them. Yeah, they are so intuitive. They really, really are. And you know, and Montessori knew this from the beginning, and she always said it. They deserve that level of respect. I think our society has sort of,
Yep.
you know, from for years thought that children just don't need to be taken that seriously, or, you know, we don't need to really speak with them like we'd speak with an adult. And yeah, I mean, it's so important because, you know, if we speak to them, if we speak down to them, what is that teaching them for when they're an adult? You know? Like what is
Yep.
that teaching? That adults talk down to lesser or, you know, or smaller people or children or what have you? Like it's not um anyway, yeah, I just think that level of respect. You know, I grew up, I wasn't a Montessori kid, but my parents are musicians, so they'd always have musicians visiting. People, our house would always just be full of really interesting and amazing people. And my sister and I were always up there talking to adults, always. Um, and that has sort of shaped who I am. And that's a big reason why Montessori really spoke to me, because that's how I grew up, you
Right.
know? It wasn't like I was sitting at the kids' table or downstairs so I wouldn't bother anybody. I was expected to be there and be a polite, you know, 9-year-old or however old I was, you know?
Yep. Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
when we include children in the lives of adults and when we treat them as we would adults like that, for the most part, we get children that are capable of navigating a lot of, situations. And it allows children to really grow in their understanding of the world. It allows them to build a sense of self that is a strong one and not
Mhm.
that I'm lesser than or whatever. Um, and and so I think when you're talking with children, you need to approach them like if you're helping them solve a problem, you know, you're going to approach them the way that you would adults. So actually it's funny, like all the skills I used in working with children, I used with my adult students uh, when I was training teachers, so
Mhm.
helping
Mhm.
to show respect and empathy for each one of those teachers, helping them articulate themselves, taking it seriously, showing empathy for what they're saying and what they're feeling, asking to know more when I didn't understand. It's all the same as the way I would approach children. So from that standpoint too, when you work with children, certainly there are times that we have to assert some authority for whatever reason.
Yeah.
There's a situation that's unsafe. There's it's whatever. There are times we have to, but we can still do that with respect. Um,
Yeah.
we can still do that in a way that we're preserving the relationship we have with the children. When we if we don't hold grudges with them about some behavior choice they made, that helps with that. Like we have to just matter of factly say, we walk in the classroom or, please stop
Right.
running. You know,
Right.
either way, like you can't always have frame it positively. Sometimes you just have to
Right.
say
Yeah,
stop.
stop.
um in the same way that I would do it, if my husband or my parents were in danger. Stop. Like don't
Right.
I mean, it's the same sort of respect and the same sort of boundaries I would set for adults oftentimes as well. So we don't
Mhm.
have to worry
Mhm.
that treating children with respect means that we're, not going to be able to assert that authority when we need to. We still can do that, but we want to
Yeah.
recognize children as individuals that who have value and show that in how we speak to them and how we approach them, how we share ourselves with them so that they'll share themselves with us. And that's where we've got a strong relationship of respect. So in an elementary classroom, the way we speak to each other is the same way that I speak to my colleagues at work or my family
Mhm.
members or anything like that. It's with that same sort of respect and sensitivity. I'm going to choose my words wisely with children, just like I'm going to choose my words wisely with adults when I have something challenging to say. It's just the same sort of thing.
It definitely is, and this piece, this vital piece of communication, it feeds into every other area of the elementary classroom, because when you have that strong relationship with your student, then that's when the real work can really happen, you know? If
Yep.
you don't have that, it's gonna be pretty difficult to teach, it's gonna be pretty hard. So I think it's the most important piece.
It really is. And when you have this with children, what you may find is that they then will share a lot with you. And so,
Mhm.
because you have shown yourself to have respect, they may come to you and complain about a social situation. This is true for teachers and for parents and anyone else who hangs out with
Uh-huh.
elementary children. And we have to remember then, too, that when children come to complain to us, sometimes they just need to vent and whine to us,
Right.
just like we do with our people that we go to. I mean, don't you have people that you complain to, Rachel?
Yes. Yeah,
And
I think you're one of them, so
and and you don't always want like a solution or
right.
you don't or I mean, then that's the same with children. So sometimes because they're dealing with a lot of social stuff, we're going to get them coming to trusted adults to sometimes just vent. And we have to figure
Mhm.
out whether they really need help solving something or if they just needed to let some emotion out. And that's part of our role, when we're talking with elementary children, is to show empathy for how they're feeling and then
Mhm.
help them see if they need to solve something, but also they may just need to express their feelings and move on. um
Yeah, and whatever they're expressing, the problem or whatever, it could be really, really big, right? Or it could be really kind of insignificant in your mind, but to them, it's their entire world. So I think
mhm.
that empathy is so important. Oh my gosh, you lost your yarn ball, and it's like the biggest mess that's ever happened, right? And just being there for them, but
Yep.
also, you know, lending an ear or a shoulder, it's super important to let them feel heard. Yeah. Yeah. It's great. The relationships that come from this, are really valuable, and they will be lifelong. So,
Yeah, so
yeah.
as you're talking with elementary children, remember to be yourself. Remember to be to sort of infuse in all your conversations the deep respect and sort of love you
Yes.
have for the children. And also remember elementary children have those reasoning minds. So whenever possible, in your conversations, allow for the reasoning mind to really work and emerge. So you can a lot of times you know, our role is to just ask questions and help provoke deeper sort
Yes.
of exploration. So that
Totally.
that's a key to how we communicate and how we talk with elementary children. And when we do that, then they feel confident talking with us. And that's where our
Yeah.
relationship grows. It's really, really powerful. But yeah, no sing-songy, no
No.
sugarcoating, no
Mm-mm.
inauthentic communication because they see right through that.
Yeah, you
So
gotta keep it
being
real.
Yep,
Seriously.
definitely, definitely.